DOT had survey crews out there. They didn't even, the guys that were doing the survey didn't even know what the project was for.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. So, you know, it's
That's
so,
crazy.
it's just so hard to communicate to everybody. It's so hard.
Yeah, no kidding. Especially when you see these things are usually in the pipeline for, you know, a long, long time ahead of actual production.
Well, that is part of it too. We had a meeting with them, I don't know, 2 years before they did it.
Mhm.
And
Hey, Joey.
they didn't really
Oh,
tell us
Rhoda.
what they were doing other than they were changing signals.
Oh,
And that's all they said. You know, they didn't tell us they were taking the loops out and
Yeah.
putting in cameras.
Hmm.
Maybe they didn't know it till they did the design. I don't know.
that's interesting. But that makes sense if you can increase the flow of traffic without all these bottlenecks.
Well, let's see how well it works.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Good on paper.
Maybe they could fix that one at the park. I sit there in the morning through 4 red lights before it turns to go.
That's a tough intersection.
You sit there. I went out of the bank after I walk. I stop at the park to take my left at the Dairy Queen. The light turns red. The walk light turns on. The green light goes for people going up and down 44 4 times in a row
Wow.
before my light turned green.
Maybe they need some feedback, Joe.
Yeah, I'm gonna go down. I'm gonna go down there and feed back some people.
Yeah, right. It's a small penalty, a small
Yeah.
complaint
Yeah.
sheet that you fill out.
There was a line, I think, all the way back to John's package store one
Wow.
day.
Oh, wow.
But I don't know. It was working fine before, then I don't know. Now it's not. And then on the other side, they let out 3 cars and it turns red.
Oh, boy. Well, they need feedback.
Yeah.
Fine tune it.
I don't know anybody down there anymore. I used to know all them guys. But
Has anybody or everybody been into the new facility at the Hartford Health Center?
no, I haven't been there yet.
Well, good.
Medical building?
The
I've
new
been in.
It's amazing. What a beautiful job.
Yeah, it is. It's a nice building.
Yeah, there's something. I think Lifestar went in there today.
Oh,
Yeah.
did
I see it coming around this afternoon.
They did a video.
Well, it's good we have it
They're there
still.
every day.
All set?
Ready.
Rhonda, do roll call?
Okay, George Clausen,
Yep.
Bill Hester,
Yep.
Joe Lemlin,
Yep.
John Mazzacati.
Yes.
No alternates yet?
No.
Okay.
Okay, bar camps at tour update, Jim?
So we expect, so some of you guys are aware, there was the new meter that was put in at the town line, when it was delivered had a defect in it. So the manufacturer took it back. We expect to have the new one installed by the end of this week. Lennard Engineering and Laurel Engineering have gone through all their inspections and everything meets what was required by us. It's all been put on an as-built plan. And so they did a test run of just regular water to make sure that they did a pressure test. They found a leak, had to get that fixed. Everything was good after that. They did a test run and it pumped into the gravity system just the way it was supposed to. So it seems like it's completely operational. The next, really the only thing left is to get that meter at the town line in and then make sure that the engineering is all paid. And I saw, Bruce, you did include a breakdown of that engineering. So I'll have to go through that in a little more detail. Because I do have up to minute invoices from both Leonard and Laurel for that, and make sure that mine agrees with yours, and then we can, demand a check before we turn the valves. So other than that, once we say go, that'll start when we hit the, we'll go down and take readings of the meters. So we have a start point, and then we'll be able to compare those meters with the town line meter and send the billing file to Barkhamsted. And, we'll probably have some glitches like any new system, but looks like things are really pretty much there.
How many meters we got in anyways?
There's 4 in right now. There's 4 open businesses and one that a brand new business, a place called Ollie's. They're a meter right now. There is no meter in the movie theater because they're closed. And once they open, then they'll have to put it in. Other than that, so there's 4. There's Subway, Ollie's, Tractor Supply, and I think something Dollar Tree maybe is what they said. So
Okay.
4 for now, 5 as soon as the cinema opens, assuming it does reopen.
All right.
I don't think it is.
Not yet.
Bruce, you're up. Unmute. Bruce, you're muted.
Better?
Yep, there you go.
Okay, Pam's gonna put up, Pam, if you put up the waterworks statements.
Bruce, I just got this late this afternoon. I was out and I hadn't had time to print it out. Can we get the day before we get the meeting?
In non-budget season, yes.
You're right. I know. You're not busy. I know.
Happy to, I usually try to do that.
Oh,
Yesterday.
you
was
do.
not possible.
You do. I know.
So this is the waterworks results through March 31st, which represents 75% of the year. Couple comments on the page 1, which is our revenue page. Total revenues are $1,445,000 compared to $1,399,000 last year. So at this time, so we're ahead of last year by $46,000. Most of that is on the top line, where current water rents have been collected at 1,266 compared to 1,206 last year. So I think last year we were commenting that things were down below what we'd expected, but they seem to have popped up again this year. I've given you the past due balance on Santoros at the bottom of the page. As of March 31st, they owed $35,689. That's both current and past due or prior year. There's a payment in process for $4,200. After that, they owe $31,000. They're making monthly payments of $5,000 less the marshal's fee, results in $4,250. There's a similar analysis on the sewer funds front page. My estimate is that if they continue to make these payments, these monthly payments at $10,000 less the marshal's fee of $1,500, that $8,500 will pay off. They'll become current in January of 22, just in time for the February bill. So better than we were last year at this time because they're making monthly payments, but it's still, we got to be patient, I guess.
Well, I think, on the Santoros with the hospitality industry, restaurants, et cetera, it's going to get better. So hopefully they'll be, starting to come out of the woods themselves.
Yeah. Okay. Let's go to page 2, Pam, please. So this is the first department, which is 317, which is waterworks. I've underlined a couple minor areas that we're running a little bit negative on. So Marty, you may want to take a look at this and make some recommended changes next month, but or the following month before we close out the year. I just underlined the top line just as a reminder that there's a foundation contribution due here to offset the costs of the intern that was employed last summer. The total department's at 67% of budget through 75% of the year, so I think the department's doing fine that way. A little bit overextended under emergency repairs, but we know, the reason for that. That's the bottom line account in your department, Marty.
Right.
Okay, going to page 3, unless there's any questions on this.
Yeah, the only thing, Bruce, is why don't we just make our decision? Marty showed us the minutes from when we talked about the interns from back in the day, which led us to believe that half of that cost of the intern was going to be borne by the foundation and the other half by the commission. So is this number the full number? Is this the half that the foundation needs to do? Let's just get this done so we can write the check.
This is the full cost.
That's the
This
full
plus
cost.
another 7.65%, which is it's a total of 3358.68. Divide that by 2. The number would be $1,679.34.
Okey doke. Thank you.
That contribution would, that would resolve that. We wouldn't need to do that anymore. Okay. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
679.34.
Yep.
Okay.
And that would just be made out to the water fund. Okay.
Yep.
All right, going to page 3, Department 319, which is the filtration plant. They're at 62% of budget through 75% of the year. I don't see any glaring issues there. Administration is at 71% compared to 75% of the year. We will probably be making another pension contribution here in the next month to close that out. Department 322 is at 61% based on 75%. So again, all that's following very closely what we expect. Total expenditures are at 66% of budget, 1.242 million, compared to last year at this time, 1,088,000. So, I mean, the fund is tracking where we expected to track. Any questions? Okay, let's go to Pam, if you can pull up sewer water bank balances. Okay, let's, so at March 31st, the sewer fund had a operating cash balance of 501,000. Next page. Water fund had an operating bank balance of 699,000. And the savings account, go to the bottom of the page, please. So the savings account had 1,148,000, 874,000 belongs to the water fund, 273,000 belongs to the sewer fund. That's the cash balances at the end of March. There's a rather substantial, I think about $170,000 is due in June 1st. well, we'll get to the sewer fund. Let's go to the sewer fund now. Okay, here's the sewer fund revenue page. Total revenues are at $1,330,000 compared to $1,265,000 last year at this time. So we're ahead by about $65,000. Again, that's coming out of the top line. So this is encouraging to see that our sewer rents are coming in a little bit better than last year. Past due rents are even a little bit ahead of last year. That's the second underlined item. The third underlined item is the septic dumping, and there's been no Rust septic revenue or dumps, I presume, in the month of March. So that.
No Russ.
What's that, Alex?
No Russ.
Okay. So, we're at 95% of budget on septic dumping with 3 months to go. So I think that's good. So Santoro's past due balance on the sewer side is, after the payment that's in process, is $19,500. And again, based on the payments that they've been making monthly, it would be January by the time that they would become current. Any questions on the revenues? Okay, Pam, if you go to page 2, please. Okay, Department 315, 69% of budget at 75% of the fiscal year. Alex would like to propose a couple of budget transfer to cover a couple of accounts, and I think you'll see one of the things I gave you was sewer fund. Pam, yeah, right there. Yes, okay. Alex, you want to talk about this?
Yeah, I'd like to take a total of 12,000 out of maintenance of structures, 10 to go to maintenance of equipment, which is currently negative, and then 2,000 I need to cover. Shame on me, the permit renewal testing was quite substantial. It was over $1,900, so I didn't anticipate that in last year, so.
Do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion to transfer the funds out of the maintenance structures, the Department 315-827 to the maintenance of equipment and contracted lab services of the 315, both 826 and 851.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Joe?
Yeah, I said it first.
Oh, okay. All right.
The race is on,
All right.
Joe.
Okay. Going to Department 316, which is, if you can go back to that other one. 316, the pumping station. Again, I've underlined a few items just to help Marty kind of decide whether or not he wants to make a transfer next month or so. But the total department's at 54%, page 2. Next page, please. Yeah. Yeah, 54%. Yeah, 54% through 75% of the year. So I think, on the whole, I think you got plenty of funds remaining for the work you need to do. Department 317, the WPCA, we're at 72%. I've underlined the bottom Bark Hampstead interlocal project because this statement only gives you 9 months of activity in this account. Page 4, will give some additional information on where the Bark-Hampstead project costs are, because it goes back into prior fiscal years when we incurred some of those costs. But before we leave page 3, I just wanted to point out that there is a large principal payment due for on June 1st, so we'll be making those payments at the end of May. And on the next page, you'll see the interest that's related to those debt payments also will be coming out in on May, at the end of May. So that will bring the debt administration back up to where we'd expect it to be at that point. But right now, we're only at 28% because of the seasonal nature of those items. Total expenditures are 1.26 million compared to 1.148 million last year. Again, total expenditures are at 63% of a budget. So I think the fund is performing, very well in terms of expenditures. And then, so we have collected $35,722 from Mallory Brook and Lombard Ford for the engineering and inspection costs. We've spent about 28 so far. There's open POs for another 9. So I gave this because Jim had asked for it a couple days ago. So he's going to check it against his information. But bottom line, most of the costs seem to be paid for, but there's a couple $1,000 left plus whatever Jim comes up with of estimate to complete in order to bill. Would that bill go to Mallory Brook Plaza, Jim, or
Mallory Brook or Calco Construction, they seem to change depending on which pocket's got more money in it.
well, most everything has come from I haven't seen Calco Construction on a check. All I've seen is Mallory Brook Plaza checks. Have you seen a Calco Construction check?
I thought we had some.
Well, I don't have it in my records, but if we would need to, include that if.
So does this include purchasing all the water meters and everything, or is this just engineering money? Because it seems high for just engineering.
It's all engineering.
Huh. Maybe maybe Calco bought the meters and stuff. Okay. I'll sit down with you on this, Bruce, and just make sure. I'll probably do that tomorrow if you're around.
I am. Any questions on the sewer fund? Okay, let's go to Fund 123, please. Okay, here's the capital improvements report. So first page is revenues, and it just shows what's being moved every month from the respective funds into the Fund 123. Go to page 2 on this, please. So the top section shows you the sewer funds projects. I've underlined the vacuum truck, just a reminder that it will need funding from fiscal 22 and fiscal 23 to finish that out. My note right under that on the right says ARPA funding question mark. The American Rescue Act that was passed American Rescue Plan Act. They are targeting for infrastructure costs related to, or projects related to broadband infrastructure, water infrastructure, and sewer infrastructure. So there may be an opportunity here to, since those funds are limited to those kinds of projects, for this commission to petition the selectmen for that money to assist with the step screen. And maybe something else, but possibly the bridge, the bridge to the sanitation plant. I'll have to see when we get more details, but it's a possibility that you may be able to get funding there, which would help a great deal in relieving, the budget or the funding requirements of the sewer fund for capital improvements. Going to the blue colored section, the water fund. Again, you've got the vacuum truck, which is going to need some funding allocations from the fiscal 22 and fiscal 23 budgets. I've underlined the Wallens Hill tank and overlined the Crystal Lake tank and underlined the water main replacement tank and just indicated that those are part of the DWSRF project. So, not a lot of activity during the month, but gives you the project status versus the budgets. Any questions on that? The last thing that I would put up for commission to consider are a list of, there are 9 lien releases to approve. These are customers that have had sewer assessment liens on their property ever since the Highland Lake sewer line project went in. They have, in the last month, those bills went out, I think, at the beginning of or end of March, the annual sewer assessment payments. And these customers have decided to pay off the balance. So the tax collector is proposing that we release the liens because the payments have been made in full. There's only, I think after this year, there's only 2 or 3 years left. So these balances are getting down to be manageable, and maybe they're using their stimulus checks, to pay these off. But we have 9 of them. So
Bruce, which line item has that money been deposited in?
it goes into, you'll see those receipts back on the sewer fund, Pam. Top first page. Second line down, sewer assessments, 1994. Along with sewer assessment interest, which is 2 lines under sewer rents past due. That's where that money comes in. And it doesn't stay in the fund, it goes into the sewer assessment fund. It gets transferred out into the sewer assessment fund at the end of the year, at the end of the fiscal year, but that's where it's collected.
I'll make a motion that we issue the releases for those fully paid accounts.
Second the motion. Beat you, Joe.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Rhonda, could you just make a note that each one of those 9 liens were approved?
Yep.
Okay. And you probably want to put the addresses, in
Okay.
the motion, because that will identify the property.
Alrighty. And do those have to be signed by the commission?
Yeah, I need a signature.
Okay.
Anything else, Bruce?
That's it for me at the moment.
Okay, sewer rate increase.
I have nothing more to say on that tonight. I have no,
What
I'm-
what was this resolution for?
that's for,
Is that down further?
that's old business number C.
Okay, all right.
And I haven't had any chance to go in that. I think Jim and I still need to kind of revisit really what the cost structure is going to be in the sewer fund. You know? Right, Jim?
I mean, I've shared some of that structure with John and Bill. It's kind of hard to get into it without having it, a flow chart written out, but essentially beyond all of what the rate increase was that we've been talking about for months and months, we've done a pretty comprehensive analysis here on where we've been putting our labor over the years. 2/3 of our labor has been going to maintaining the water system, and only 1/3 of our labor is going to the sewer system. And the sewer system is in need of more. We've got to spread the love more. We don't have the manpower to do it just by reallocating. So to keep the momentum we have on the water side, I'm proposing not changing staffing there at all. So to make up for the percentage of labor that would just be lost by keeping everybody there, we have to add 2 people into the water or into the wastewater side. The 2 positions would be a lab tech / operator at the sewer plant, and then another utility man on the in the rotation for water and sewer. We've also got in there some type of an overlap or supplementation or replacement of the director's position. Again, I've spoken a little bit to Bill about it, John about it, and Bruce and Bob and Marty and Jeff and Alex, trying to come up with the best utilization of talent. So until you can see it on the charts, we do the math. That's about as deep as I can get into the weeds at this point. But the important thing to know is I'm going to be looking for about another $200,000 a year in operating costs at some point. Doesn't have to be year one. These changes are going to take some time for us to implement. So adding this personnel and making the shift can take some time as well. So I've asked Bruce to try to incorporate that into the rate increase that we already knew we needed. And it may push it out over a longer period of time, or it may just be harder, quicker. A lot of that math still has to be done. So that's what me and Bruce we at least have to get you to a starting point where you can look at the numbers, and then we'll go from there.
So the 200,000 for employees would be divided between water and sewer?
Nope, the water department is already, so the way it works right now, basically Marty's department, all of their labor is divided, 2/3 of their efforts and pay go to and are paid from the water fund. Only 1/3 of their pay comes out of the sewer fund. So to make up for that difference and not change anything on the water side, because that's what we need to maintain that water side, all 200,000 of this, or the vast majority of the cost, will be directly in the sewer fund.
Well,
You'll see it better when we have a visual representation of it. But yes, all of it will be on the sewer side. And 200,000, that's just my really quick math. I didn't factor in fringe benefits and a bunch of other stuff. I fabricated some rates. You know, this was an hour's worth of math. It wasn't real high level stuff, but I needed to give you at least an idea of where we're heading with that.
I forwarded your flow charts to everybody, so they all have it.
Oh,
So-
okay. Okay, so that's helpful.
Yeah, you email me, I email everybody else.
Yeah, so you got the first generation of that flow chart. Once I really looked at it, I realized when I sent it to you, it had 3 new positions.
Correct.
One of those was actually just a replacement.
It's a vacant. Well, you have
yeah,
vacant right now.
Exactly. Okay.
So it'd be 2 new positions and 1 vacant fill.
Correct.
So the lab tech, have you written any job description or anything yet? No.
Not that far along, no.
Okay. So do you foresee this coming into this year's budget?
I'd like to at least get a start on it. Yeah.
Okay.
So this might be a good time. So to get a start on it, the first step would probably be going after that additional utility man position. And the logic behind that is currently we have 3 guys that are either on no duty or light duty, and 1 that's going to be retiring. And while we have the expertise, we would like to get somebody in to learn from him and overlap and give us some manpower to keep things going while these guys are recovering. And so that's the first position. We're thinking of even doing a temporary guy until we get stuff going. So that was going to come up later in the director's report, but thought I'd kind of brief you now and we can get into the weeds, later on if time allows.
All right. Yeah, I'd be interested to see where we end up this year to see where we have to move forward on.
Yep.
Mhm.
Cost for the pumps, Morgan Drive, Lakeview.
So we didn't get any new information from E1 that we've tried. There was some discussion this week. But he's just been flat out like everybody else. But I spent a little bit of time on the GIS with the LiDAR overlays. And I find no viable path for a gravity system. Not to say that, a couple $100,000 of engineering couldn't find a path through there, but currently in order to follow a line of constant elevation and keep a reasonable pitch on those pipes, I would have had to go through 12 pieces of private property and directly through 6 houses. Just pretty unreasonable. If we went down to Wakefield Boulevard through Vaughn's Lane, through areas that are kind of available to us, we'd have to have a pump station to get it across Wakefield Boulevard because it's dead flat. So there's just the economics. I don't see a viable path that way, but I at least wanted to communicate that it's been looked at again and it just doesn't seem reasonable.
Okay.
Jim, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Jim, at the bottom, just before the chlorinator, does the town own that land right at the corner?
Yes.
Is that where you would put a pump station if you had to? You'd gravity everything down there and then just pump it up to the Winchester Road? Is that the
So
most practical thing you see?
If we were going to do it, yes, that was the first thing we looked at. And we got a
Yep.
price from Leonard, just an engineer's cost opinion on that. And it was outrageously expensive. One, you're building a very big, expensive pump station. And 2, you're doing all the excavation for the gravity lines. So there's more digging, a more expensive pump station, that's when we decided to look at the low pressure pump station where you need just one line going up to Route 263, and we can keep most of the work in the lawns of the homes rather than in the roads. And it quickly became significantly less money to the point where we stopped considering, a full-fledged plant down there, or a full-fledged
Okay.
pump chamber down there.
Makes sense. I agree with you.
Mhm. And Jim, just,
Well, at least we
just,
got a direction where you want to go, okay.
how many houses are we gonna pick up if we get those two spots?
Oh, I don't remember off the top of my head.
That's okay.
George, you may have a better idea on that than I do.
I think when we, the initial was over 20 facilities that could tie into.
Oh, wow, wow.
And the bulk of them are, they're aged systems. So,
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there was one new septic system that just went in within the last 6 months.
Yeah, and probably 4 or 5 months before that, there was another one that was put in
Yeah.
across the street almost. Yep.
Well, just a suggestion for the future, the people that put in a new system, maybe we could do the same thing we did at the Highland Lake sewer system. They have to pay the assessment, but they don't have to hook in for a number of years because they spent all this money, recently. And that's what we did when we tied in the Highland Lake sewer system. As long as it was accredited by the Torrington Area Health as a good system, they were allowed I forgot how long to wait before they had to tie in. Just a thought, when the time comes, if I'm not around, you can do something like that.
Yeah, Steve, that's going to be a big hesitation if there isn't some method to deal with that. You're right.
Yep.
Good point.
Crystal Lake Emergency Action Plan?
So there's 5 or 6 things going on simultaneously with that project. There's the emergency operations plan, the emergency action plan comment review. There's the safe yield study, the risk and resilience assessment, and the water supply plan update. So we put all of these together because there's a lot of synergies and overlap. So we've been feeding information to Leonard Engineering, and they're working on it. There's a deadline for one of these coming up that we're kind of chasing. But the next step is, I think it's a week from today, on the 20th, we have an information exchange meeting with Leonard where they can get the last information they need from us. And then we're going to start getting some feedback from them on other information that we need to chase down. So it's moving along, but on the 20th is going to be our next big hurdle where we have quite an information dump.
Think it'll be done this budget season or no?
Yeah, I think so. The vast majority of it will be. Some of it has to be by regulation. There's deadlines. Some of it's, I think the emergency action plan comment review, that's going to be a perpetual nightmare. This has been going on for years already, and they're just being silly with it. Them being the state.
Okay, sewer plant, generator, frozen valve, portable water pump.
I think Alex is on. If Alex wants to speak to that, you could probably get a more comprehensive answer than from me.
The generator tanks are done and in full. So that's all set. West State completed that. Unfortunately, I spent the better part of 3.5 weeks straight doing the permit renewal. It was over 90 pages. So as far as the leaking pipe, I'm kind of in a holding pattern. I'm prioritizing the leaking pipe because that's got a way higher consequence of failure. I was looking into another vendor for the frozen valve because I thought the 9,500 to fix that was on the high side. West 8 swamped at the moment. Fran's gonna come out. We figured out how to shut the system down so they could get the valving and fix that funky reducer valve. So that's the story here.
All right. Need
So-
anything else?
John,
Yeah,
I'd
so
like to add to that.
Well, yeah, so
Um,
a couple of things on that. Alex, the generator, the tanks are in. What's the status of the actual generator running the entire plant?
Well, the breaker's been put in by Traver. So now we're not gonna run into an issue with an extended outage. So we can run secondary process and not have the huge mess that we had last time during the Hurricane Isaias in August. So now I can run both clarifiers to any two of the RAS pumps, and it's business as usual.
Okay, and then the sludge pump VFD, that's all in and done, working perfectly?
Yep, perfect, flawless.
Excellent.
Hey, John,
Yes.
I want to add to what Alex said because I got a report from him today on things, and the reason the budget has exploded so much, the 60,000, we went through it. I just want to read a few things off that Alex has done. New chlorine pump, $3,300. Emergency breakers for the secondaries for the generator, $3,300. RAS pump motor rebuilds, $6,500. RAS pump new VFD, $5,900. EIF pump motor rebuild and check valve install. Effluent, I'm reading this, I don't know what I'm reading. Effluent deposit samplers, $6,500. Recirculating pumps rebuilt, $4,900. These are 30-year blues that we're going through. And Alex can certainly explain these, but him and I have looked at it, and these are just things that have to be done. And
Yeah.
other
Agreed.
things that we had on the wish list are not going to spend right now because we're out of money, for this
Yeah.
year. We didn't do anything with
Unfortunately-
the brush cutting. I wanted to wait on that till the end of the year, and we have no money because we let it go for so many years without doing anything. I used to spend $1,000 to $1,500 a year and just do a little bit, and it was okay, but we let it go for 10, 12 years, and now you got to spend 10,000, which equals the same if we spend every year, but it's a big bite when you take it all at once. But I would propose the next year's budget that we have a line item for brush cutting of $10,000 to start with, at least that one pop to get it cleaned up. And then after that, maybe 3,000 a year and maintain it every year so it doesn't get ahead of us like this. That's where our money went.
Yeah, there were a number of, there were like at least 10 projects down here that needed attention between $3,000 and $8,000. So.
I say awesome. That's
Yeah.
what I say.
Good job.
I say awesome too, and good job. And I understand exactly what Alex and Steve were talking about. I know everything they were talking, so.
I don't. And the
Update
other
on
thing that we had a meeting with somebody on this step screen, and the contractor came out and I predicted what would happen, and he looked at it and saw everything, but he was gonna share with us on how to bid it, which he isn't going to do now. So he won't, because he wants to bid it. Why should he tell us how to bid it? So I guess we're gonna try and get Bart to look at it and see to get some specs out so we can go out to bid. I think that's what Alex told me that Jim is talking about. Is that correct, Jim? That Bart's gonna look at those?
Yeah, I mean, we sort of run everything past Bart in at least a peripheral fashion. But yeah, that's really our next focus. Alex has had his hands full with all those repairs, as well as we weren't anticipating the significance of the permit renewal. But again, kudos to Alex on that 92-page document.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
So, that's going to be our next priority, A, for just because we need it, but two, as Bruce said, we want to get ahead of any of that federal relief money that could be coming our way that can be allocated towards, those types of infrastructure projects. And this would be a perfect use for it, especially if that money is COVID related, because so many of these wipes coming through have
Oh my
expanded
gosh,
because
yes.
of COVID. It dovetails really nicely into our needs, as does the bridge. And there was another item too. I don't remember what it was. Oh, maybe another part of the use for that money would be the septage receiving station.
Yep.
So we could make really good use of that money if it actually does come as intended.
Well, if those meters, you got those flow meters, I would suggest that we try to use the same one at the dump station, so the guys that have to work on them or something will understand them.
Sure.
If you have a one in Oakdale Avenue, I would think we could buy the same one if it's big enough to unload the trucks when we get going on that.
Yep,
Does that
worth
make
looking
sense?
at for sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, there's a significant loss of revenue. Just the way it is right now. They're coming in with a lot of times just kind of dirty sight glasses, and the guys have to run around. They're doing something, run over there and babysit them, and it would just be a better way to keep tabs on what's coming into the plant, because the septic coming in is very high in suspended solids and BOD that requires extra detention time and extra treatment. So just something to really think about.
And also next year's budget, we have to put at least 100,000 in to get ready for that step screen. If I believe that somebody was running, rolling figures around about 100,000. Does that make sense, Jim? So the total project would be at least 300,000 for that screen?
I think the preliminary estimate's 400 total.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Cow.
Yep.
Well,
Yeah,
we're
we'll
gonna
see
have,
once
what,
it goes
200
out to
now?
bid, but
Aren't we gonna have 200 right now?
correct.
Yes.
Okay. So we have to put up another 200 then?
Yep.
On the next budget?
Unless we can get it from this relief money.
Yep, I understand, but we need another 200 someplace.
Correct.
Okay. That's a shock. I thought it was 100.
Next year it'll be 300.
I know.
Nothing ever goes down in price. So, and I do
Not
have some,
lately.
I do have some names and numbers of some people that do have some step screen setups, and Alex pulled up some stuff too that he's been sort of researching. So that's, I've been working with him a little bit and heading that direction. And if that relief money comes in, that would be wonderful. And just to throw in another little positive thing for Alex doing this permit, some plants actually have engineers do it, and they get up to $15,000 to redo a permit. So Alex saved us a lot of money doing that permit himself for sure. So thank you, Alex.
Deal, yeah.
Yep.
Thanks, Bill.
Update on GEM software.
I wish they'd update it. Yeah, it is what it is. We're stuck with it for now. It's just not set up to be a utility billing software. It's Rhonda and Caitlin, they fight with it every day, but Sandy fought with it every day for a decade. So we're just, I know Bruce and the team are looking at options, and I know it takes a long time. So we'll just keep doing what we do until we can manage it better.
Kim did provide us with one report that was really helpful. So.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So, I think we could take it off the agenda and just, work with what we have.
Okay.
Drinking water state revolving fund. Update.
So there's just last night, the Planning and Zoning Commission gave a positive referral on an 824 referral request. Meaning they sent it to the selectmen saying, yeah, we believe in this project. And, that's just one of the steps that's required in order to secure the loan through the state revolving fund and, go to the town to get the loan, agreement. Per project, the water mains, we expect the 70% plans to be delivered to us in the next couple of weeks. With the Crystal Lake and Wallens Hill tanks, we've gotten kind of the first draft of the design that we're reviewing. Mostly we're reviewing it to trim redundancies because a lot of the work that has to be done for one tank has to be done for both tanks, but you really only need to do it once. So we're trying to just trim it down so that we're not paying for anything twice. And then the next step, because of the way the system works, there's a thing called a rollover application. When the SRF rolls over to a new fiscal year, you've got to send in your rollover application so you stay in the system. So that's ready to go out. We still got time, but it's ready. I've got the document sitting right here. I got to review it one more time, sign it, and then send it. And then we can't forget tonight to do an official request to the Board of Selectmen for them to put the SRF project into their referendum for a vote. I know I had some conversation with Bruce regarding the proper language for that, and he sent over a draft. Maybe Bruce, you want to jump in on that and kind of walk us through how that's supposed to be done.
Oh, Pam, if you can put up the Word document, please. So this is the resolution that you would consider and hopefully vote on so that you can send this on to the Board of Selectmen for their Monday meeting. It's a resolution of the commission with a couple of, let me just read it. Whereas the Town of Winchester Water Sewer Commission has identified needed infrastructure improvement projects consisting of the following: replacement of existing water mains, decommissioning and replacement of an existing water storage tank on Wallens Hill, construction of a new and rehabilitation of existing water storage tank at the Crystal Lake Water Treatment Plant. Whereas the commission wished to finance the projects by a borrowing from the Connecticut Department of Public Health Drinking Water State Revolving Fund, DWSRF. And whereas such borrowing must be duly authorized by the Board of Selectmen in accordance with Town Charter and Connecticut State statutes. Can you roll down a little bit, Pam, please? Now therefore it be resolved that the Board of Selectmen is hereby requested to approve a resolution providing for an appropriation and authorization of bonds and notes in an amount not to exceed 6.2 million, calling for a town meeting and setting a date for referendum. That the commission requests that the date for the proposed referendum be set to coincide with the annual town budget referendum. And that the commission requests that the Board of Selectmen authorize the town manager to engage bond counsel, financial advisors, town attorney, and other individuals and/or organizations deemed appropriate to prepare required documentation, conduct the referendum in accordance with the Town of Winchester Charter and Connecticut State statutes. So we checked with bond counsel today, and they agreed that this is an appropriate resolution for the Water Sewer Commission to adopt and pass on to the Board of Selectmen.
Make a motion that we go ahead and approve that resolution, John.
Second?
I'll
Second.
I think Joe got that one.
That's not what it sounded like to me.
Write me in anyway, Rhonda.
Got
Yeah,
it.
put him. It's okay. We take turns.
So Bruce, I remember once we talked about a $6 million bond or loan, whatever. It's up to 6.2. What's the other 200,000 for?
I think this is just the, allows for some expansion in the, in the engineering. You're better off to be on the high side on this than the low side. Because if it comes in at 6, if you had 6, you approve 6 and the bids came in at 6.1, you're only authorized to, spend 6 million on this. Now, one of the things that's kind of in your favor is that if you end up with 25% forgiveness, then the actual borrowings will be down around $4.5 million. So you'd be well within this. But 6.2 anticipates no forgiveness on these 3 projects.
Which I think you have to do it to the full amount, don't you? So you can't just count on that 25%. You've got to.
Right.
For
Right.
sure.
Not until it's awarded.
Any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Do you need anything else from us, Bruce, or are you gonna submit this to the?
So I'll date it. I guess I will just use the minutes that Rhonda prepares, to attach to this. Unless, John, you want to swing by town hall and could sign this.
Sure, I can be there around 5:30 tomorrow morning.
The other time during,
Well, otherwise I'm back in town around 9:30, so
Why
tomorrow
don't you do
night.
it? Why don't you do it tonight?
When do you need the minutes by? Might take me a couple days to,
Well, I could
is,
sign and email it to you.
yeah, do that.
All right,
If you could do the same thing with the
9.
with the 9 lien releases, if you could do that, that would be great.
All right, that I can do.
Bruce, for this to be an official document, does it have to have a signature block on it?
John, just write.
Okay.
Put your name, chairman, and sign it, okay?
All right,
I think it may, this is not the really critical document for the borrowing. This is just a referral to the Board of Selectmen. The Board of Selectmen will have to have a block signature as well as a vote, a vote recorded. This is more of a informal request.
Okay. Just trying to dot my i's and cross my t's.
May 10th. May 10th.
did they vote on this last night, Bruce?
No,
No? Okay.
no, they're not going to proceed until they get a formal request from you. Plus, having the planning and zoning, approval will be
Yeah.
part of that as well. So this will be part of, I hope to have a resolution for them to consider next Monday.
Okay.
We should be in the package by Friday.
If I can get it there, it will be.
Any bill adjustments? Seeing one that came through, Jim, or?
Yeah, Marty, you might want to jump in on this. I know we have the one from 240 Perch Rock Trail. I know we had talked that there might have been another one, Marty. Did that ever make its way through?
I don't believe it did to
Okay,
you. I think that one's a pretty straightforward one. It was in Halliburton. A lady had a broken pipe in the basement. She had a receipt of the repairs. I think we can go ahead and make that adjustment. I would suggest that we do. The one for Perch Rock's it's quite a bit more convoluted. I don't know, as though did you share those documents I sent you or no?
I
Yes.
shot them to John. I don't know if he was able to forward them though.
Yeah, about
Yes,
15 minutes before the meeting.
Yeah.
Yes,
So
he did.
again, there is no need to rush this guy. If he's giving it to us minutes before a meeting,
Yeah.
we're gonna take our
That's
time.
when we
on
got
this.
it. I got it. Just as soon as I received it, I sent it to Jim. So maybe
Well-
just want to soak on that one.
Yeah, I'll put it in next month.
Okay,
Next-
that's a good idea. And then in the
Next year-
meantime, we'll try to verify how much of this is factual and how much of it is fiction, so that we have a real understanding of what's going on.
Okay,
And so if we can get the, you're okay to go ahead and adjust the one for Holabird, the lady on Holabird, that would be great. I can send you the documentation on that.
well, you have a
I-
dollar figure or something that the board can vote on, or
Mm,
what are we talking here? I mean, I don't know what I'm approving.
yeah, Yeah.
I-
yeah, we'll just
I
sit on
haven't
that
seen
one
that
too.
either.
I mean, if you want to send it to me, we could always do this in an email too.
Okay,
You know,
All right.
I'll forward it to everybody and
just so you know, we have, we're trying to get a little more organized on this, where I'm not making the adjustments in-house. I want you guys to be making them, but Caitlin and Rhonda, they're starting we'll have a file ready for you for every meeting with all the adjustments and the documentation and whatnot, and then you can go ahead and make you'll have the documents you need to make your decision.
okay. And if you could get us those a few days before the meeting, that'd be great too. So I could
Right,
forward.
okay.
The
Absolutely.
total adjustment on this one was $403.04. Just to give you a scale, just a scope of how bad it was. That's including water and sewer.
Any motion or discussion, or you want to wait?
Why don't we get the paperwork, John, and then.
Yep.
get something
Okay.
I agree.
Okay. Okay, Jim, you're up. Director's report.
Yep, let me just put my organization thing back together here. So a couple of things. Case Avenue Bridge is scheduled for a new deck. The water and sewer mains that run under that are from 1958. The engineering hasn't gone far enough to the point where they've inspected or made any determination of their quality. But I just want to kind of plant the seed that we may want to consider replacing those on our dime while it's cheap and easy. There's some work they'll probably have to do as part of the bridge demolition. They're probably going to damage the insulation, maybe the hangers. So we'll know more as time goes on. This is really just a heads up to think about it. We haven't put any cost analysis into it. The water would be easier to do than the sewer because we don't have a good way of bypassing the sewer. But just planting the seed at this point. Next, I just wanted to give Alex a big, great job, nod of respect for getting that discharge permit application done. That was an epic, heroic endeavor, and he did a great job on it. We did receive an inquiry from a resident that I thought I'd pass on to you because Marty and I have no intention of granting it, but someone approached us about installing a Silcock before the meter so that they can use it for irrigation. And that not that I worry about this applicant abusing it, but you do it to one, you're gonna have to do it to others. It will get abused, but I just wanted to let you know that was a request, and Marty and I are not for it. So I don't think much more has to be said. We spoke earlier about, the fact that Mark Lombardo, Mike Giralmo, and Shane are on either light duty or no duty. So the entire, collection and distribution department is running off of Marty, Vic, and a brand spanking new guy named Will. And So we're gonna have to, you know, we're gonna, and then Mark's gonna be retiring, I think, in December. So we're hurting for personnel. Do I have the commission's blessing to go through the process of asking civil service to put a temporary utility man in? I think it's a 120 day, or I think it's a 120 day maximum. We'd kind of like to be able to react to this. We're struggling.
Well, what's happened? Why are they out?
So Mike broke his ankle, whatever it was, a year ago. And he's been out on comp most of that time. He's back at light duty. Mark Lombardo had shoulder surgery, rotator cuff, so he's out. And then Shane had a hernia, so he's out. And there's, long recovery times before those guys are going to be in the trenches doing what they do on a regular basis. So we're at 50% right now, and it's Marty's working in the office, he's working in the field. It's not sustainable. So just running that past you guys to, hopefully get your blessing and let us proceed as we need.
Yeah, those were all work-related injuries, right, Jim?
Mike
Or
was,
Mike's and Mark's were.
Mark was, Shane with a hernia, it's hard to say whether it was
Yeah,
or not.
yeah,
I don't know
yeah.
if it happened, he did not claim workers' comp, but it could very well have been, so.
Okay, we need a motion on that, Jen?
Well, yes, we would. Are you looking for 1 man, 2 men? What are we looking for? For 120 day max.
Marty, I would say one person. That should get us over the hump till somebody's able to at least get back and do something. And it can only be 120 days at a time. Maybe you authorize 2 and we can do 2 rounds, one person for, 120 and the next person for 120 if we fall behind, or we can just ask again. And having 2, having a brand new guy and having, 2 brand new temps would be kind of hard to manage, I would say, Marty. So I think 1 at a time that's my suggestion. Marty, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, with Victor in the field, really what he needs is somebody just to help him. We can't go into, for instance, just going down into a confined space. I need somebody there watching. We need, so for safety purposes, I'm out there with these guys. I've been out on the last few jobs. Of course, I'm away from the desk, and you guys know what happens at a desk when you're away. Jim just comes in and piles stuff on it. So just keep piling up. So, it's like you said, it's not sustainable for a long time. Mark Lombardo, he's retiring in December. He's going to be basically done for the year. We've gotten all we can out of him. Mike, whether he does come back to full duty, he's had some surgeries. The surgeries haven't been great. He's got a lot of trouble with his ankle. I don't foresee Mike ever being back to the full duty that we had him at. But still very capable of training these guys and getting them in, passing on some knowledge before they're gone. And Shane will be back. Shane's solid. He'll be back. Like he said, he just had a hernia surgery. Everything went well. But I wouldn't expect to have him throughout the summer, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it's a long process. I had one.
Yeah. So
Yeah. So, well, I'll make a motion that we authorize Jim to hire up to 2 temps, 1 at a time for 120 days.
I'll second that motion, Joe.
Jim, what's the cost implication?
It'll be like putting another person on a payroll.
But you actually got money for a guy you don't have in there, right?
We are running a little ahead on our we're doing okay on our labor budget right now. But not great, but we're doing okay.
They coming out of water or just water and sewer, or what are you doing?
It'll
with
come a
this?
little bit out of both.
Two
It'll be
thirds, one third.
two-thirds out of water, 1/3 out of sewer.
Any other questions? Bruce, you're muted. I can't hear you. You're still muted. Oh, there you go.
Right, so Department 317 still has over 50% of its general labor budget available for use this fiscal year. So I think you've got, if it's mostly in the sewer side, I think you got plenty of dollars there.
All right, any other questions, comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, Jim. One
Thank
at
you.
a time. If you need more, then let us know.
Okay.
Yes.
So Bruce alluded to, he gave it an acronym. I think it was ARDA.
ARPA.
ARPA. Step screen, I think, is a top priority for that money, should it appear.
Just to throw in something before you guys get a little too far here. When they talk infrastructure, the step screen isn't really considered infrastructure. It depends on the wording. Infrastructure is usually like pump stations, sewer lines out in the roads. The plant is actually a totally separate thing. I tried to do the same thing at the project that we're doing to try to get something like a generator for our plant. But it's all going to be in the wording. Because once you hit the plant, that's considered the plant. Starts with preliminary, primary, secondary. That's which is actually two separate.
Yeah,
Collection system and the plant is two separate things.
we will have to see how the language is in the bill.
Yep.
And then perhaps the bridge. I know the town, we were trying to do our bridge the same time that the town did Smith Hill Bridge. That's been taken out of the budget. So we're going to be on our own, but I think I still want to go ahead with this for two reasons. It's ready. So if this money comes along, I think we should budget for it, but if the money comes along from ARPA and is eligible for that, we would do it. And if not, just the sooner we get that rehabbed, it's gonna just make it last that much longer. So I don't want to wait forever for the town to find the funds. And then maybe that money can be used for septage receiving, if indeed you can use it at a plant at all. If not, maybe Moore Avenue, pump station, or Whiting Street, it sounds like there's at least, we don't know a lot about this money yet, but it sounds like there's at least enough time that you can plan to use the money wisely instead of just squander it. So, the Housatonic Valley Association, I don't know if you remember the last meeting or the meeting before, they made a presentation about the 1,300 acres of watershed property that the town owns. And, they offered us about $440,000 for an access easement and with, the guarantee of protection of the property. None of us were too enthused over the $440,000. Granted, we're going to need several million to do the dams and dikes at some point, but none of us were very enthused at 440,000. No one really got back to me with any opinions of what they thought if we could get the full 880,000, or if that was even enough, or if that would entice us to do it. I talked with Marty and Jeff a little bit about it. The access doesn't scare us, the public access, especially since people get back there already. Sounds like we have the ability to have a lot of freedom with how much access we grant. I don't really see it as a negative. Whether we're not, whether we could find better money elsewhere, I haven't looked into. Not sure I know how to look into it. Something like carbon capture, or, who knows what other monies are out there. But I didn't know what the feeling of the commission was, because the commission will have to endorse, this decision one way or the other, either a yes or a no, before the town manager or the board of selectmen, they're going to want to hear your position. And Bob was Bob says that, it's watershed property, should go in, the money that comes from it should go into watershed management, meaning the dams, the dikes, the canal, the Mad River diversion, the dirt roads, the fire roads, signage, all the stuff associated with the watershed. Will the new town manager keep the same agreement? Do we agree with it now under conditions? There's a lot of things to think about. And I haven't heard any feedback, so I'm hoping to get some, so that I know how to steer this thing, back to Bob, so he can go and say, yeah, let's take it. Let's not. Is there a magic dollar value? Are you not interested at all? I need something to go to Bob with.
Well, this whole thing of getting money for the protection of the watershed, which we are doing anyways, came up when I was a selectman as well. And it was in a similar amount of money. I understand from talking to Jen Perga that the Tim Abbott thinks he might be able to get this number up, over a little over 600,000. When I talked to her, she wondered, what are we really thinking about? And I said, well, until the Sewer and Water Commission, first of all, just what you brought up, Jim, if the money's going to go into the town general fund, I mean, if it goes in to help us in management of our facilities, which we're responsible for, then I would be in favor of it. And I wonder, since so many years ago it was a similar number, that in fact there's resources out there. Tim is apparently pretty talented looking for funds for, similar situations. I know he just got something up in North Canaan. They got money to buy I think it was the Elks building along the Housatonic, to get access to to Housatonic for the public, which is a nice opportunity for the community and the region. But they talked. Jen talked to me and said Tim is looking further, because I think the options and the flexibility about access is really something that we could deal with if we chose to go ahead with this. It wouldn't be something to be overburdened as far as us watching it and or getting into dangerous territory for challenging our security. So I think it's a matter of I think, from my standpoint and what I've seen, it would be beneficial if in fact the money goes to our purposes.
So you think the 600 is a fair number?
Well, I was surprised in the categories of the watershed, the land. I was a little surprised to see, what it came up with. But the dollar amount had been talked about previously, Jim, years ago, and it was at around $500,000, as I recall. So if he could get it up, into the 600,000+, I kind of wonder whether we're going to get anything better. And yet it's something we're protecting anyways. So whether there's any other, money to bring into this, I kind of wonder.
Mm-hmm. I was certainly thinking closer to the 880 than the 600.
Mm-hmm.
what would our liability be? Somebody got hurt. Right now it's closed. Once we open it up to the public, what's the liability? I need to know that before I make a decision. one way or
Yeah,
the other.
so that question came up, in the way, if I remember correctly, the way Tim Abbott answered it is, if a land trust is putting the trails in, like if it's not a,
If you're not
It was-
collecting money,
yeah,
Then
right.
it's-
Thank you, Candace. If you're not
Under-
collecting
under
money for the
parks,
access,
you
then
have
you
no
don't have the liability.
liability. Just like any. No charging a fee, and then there's no liability.
Other than the liability that the town already has on that property.
Mhm.
So, but Candace was right. If we weren't charging for it, and that's consistent with what they do up at the brewery up in Norfolk. They let people up there mountain biking, but if they're not charging for it, it's not a
They're
liability.
at their own risk. Yeah.
Yeah,
Right, it's a regulation of parks. It's state regulation in parks. Even if you have like a dog park too, don't charge, no liability.
Interesting.
At your own risk.
Mhm. But they're offering to do further work to try to get this advanced further. But I said to Jen, if the commission isn't interested, I mean, why have them spend their time on this? So it's a matter of something we need to either do something with or tell them we're not interested, frankly. And it doesn't mean if we're not interested, we're not interested. But if we're interested, if they can get a higher figure than what they're talking about, then let them pursue it and then come back with a revised presentation with the level of access that would be appropriate and acceptable.
any other opinions?
Sorry, Jim, I think it's at least 750 and over. Have them come back. If you could raise it, we'd be interested in discussing further. Otherwise, at this time, I'd say no.
Okay, I will relay that to the town manager.
Yes, I concur.
Okay, next, we had a water complaint on Upland Road. So we're gonna be putting in an auto flusher over there, which should resolve the problem until the time we can put in, a new water main, which is desperately needed. It's from 1895. That's another project that I had under my list of projects that might be able to be done with the money that Bruce, the ARPA money. And then I think the last thing I have is just more state revolving loan fund stuff. Is we just keep feeding info to the marketing people that are trying to, kind of communicate the needs and the value to the public. But other than that, we're just doing what we can do.
Mhm.
All right, thanks, Jim. Old business, Santos update, which we covered. Sewer plant bridge, we talked about 2022 to be done. Be in next year's budget again. State revolving fund you covered. Dam repair through USDA funding.
No action on that. That one's just been put on the back burner for a couple of reasons. One, now that we're investing our money in the state revolving fund, this would be something we'd have to work harder on to be able to fund. And there's still a lot of engineering and design that still have to go through the process. So it's just kind of one of those things you nibble away at.
Water regulations, anything?
Nope, haven't even looked at it.
Tree
Now,
harvest,
just before you guys move on, will that help when they start doing this project to get some plastic pipe in there, Jim? For those streets for Case Avenue and whatnot?
No, those are all gonna be done with cement line ductile.
I mean, are you guys gonna do, when you do those, are you gonna go to the curb valve with them?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know.
Yes.
Copper's really good.
I heard Marty say yes, so.
No, we'll be using copper to the curb.
You're
We'll
gonna
plan on
use the
using
copper?
Yeah, we'll go,
Okay.
we'll go for the service lines. Yeah.
Okay,
Copper's hard to beat. It's just that plastic, for instance, where I would use it if we knew we had a corrosive soil area
Yep,
where it's
yep.
problematic, or if you
Okay.
had a 200-foot run and you don't want joints, so.
tree harvesting,
Haven't even looked at it. Has
Am
anybody
I-
anybody got a feel out there for if timber, Marty, you might know, if timber is, so I know lumber's high, but that doesn't mean timber is. No?
I
Okay.
don't know, to be honest with you.
Okay.
Jimmy, one thing on the timber, years ago when we did it, we harvested it, I would say in the 80s. There's a catch on that because the selectmen wanted the money.
yes, we know.
So, that's the problem there and what we did is we all the money back that we harvested into plantings and stuff like that. So there was very little money, and there's probably not a lot of money if you do now, because you want to manage what we have up there. And usually if they cut the trees, you have the same people that are, they're going to plant new ones.
Yep.
So I don't know if there'd be a lot of revenue there if you looked at it that way and did, kept the watershed area with the, healthy, I guess you'd say.
Well, that's the intent, is they know how to manage forest land for water quality now.
Yes.
And it's not really about generating the revenue. And
No.
again, Bob, not that the next town manager will, but Bob did agree that tree harvesting money should go back into the watershed, either,
Okay.
the roads, the dams, all that stuff. He says
Okay.
it should be a closed loop system.
Absolutely. Now,
Yep,
the sewer
absolutely.
plant, I believe there's 56 acres over at the sewer plant also. I think that's what
47.
we own over there.
Yeah, that's correct.
Never looked at never walked the property, but there
Yeah.
may be, trees over there that could be harvested also.
I would imagine it's ready again. Yeah.
I would think so.
But you can't take our ancient oak.
That's the first one to go. That's gonna be the most cost effective.
Yeah.
That's what we're gonna get the most money for, Alex.
MIU still on hold?
So, yeah, they're essentially on hold. The whole project is, but we decided, we included you on our decision on that, but we're going with the estimated bills for some of those with zeros. And that may entice people to call us rather than us call them. So, it'll help. We want to do it to help keep the bills from getting too big when they finally get caught up on. And knowing that people hate estimated bills, it might make them call and say, yeah, just come and do it. So we're hoping to get kind of a two-pronged benefit from that.
Okay. Let's new business. George?
I was going to bring up the whole thing with this Tim Abbott and the Highlands, that whole thing. But the other issue that we need to deal with, how do we brief the new town manager on how the systems work and who's responsible and so on and so forth? How do we do that?
So I spent about 3 hours with him a few weeks ago and kind of explained the commission. He was on the Water and Sewer Commission I'm not sure if it's the Water Commission. I think it was the Sewer Commission in Bolton, where he's the assistant town guy. So he's completely familiar with how the commission is supposed to work and how to not make the town interrupt the work of, the commissioners that know what they're doing. So he was very interested in learning about it. He loved the makeup of the commission, having a treatment plant operator, having a contractor, having experience, having a public works guy. He was really, really happy to see the makeup, the fact that we were pulling, like Steve Vale, pulling him back in from the ancient times.
Steve.
He loved the history, the 1860s,
Is that Steve
pointed out-
birthday? 1860? Holy.
That's me.
That's me.
and when I pointed out to him, kind of the way I look at the water system is it's kind of the heart and center of Winchester, Winsted especially. But I said, geographically, the center of the reservoir is geographically the center of Winchester. And he just loved the analogy, and he just loved the fact that it starts in the middle of town and it goes all the way and discharges, out. He gets it. He likes it. He's got some experience, but he knows he's not really experienced. So I think he's a good fit to allow us to do our work and not be kind of the micromanaging type who butts in where he doesn't have expertise. So I feel good about it.
That's encouraging, but the whole situation, the way Bob is committed, just in the tree, the forest management and so forth, that it's tied to the land that we're involved with, and the security and success of our operation is there. So.
Yeah, I did mention a little bit of the logging, not so much the Housatonic Valley money.
Mm-hmm.
And it made perfect sense to him. And I know he's being briefed on these kinds of things through Bob.
Mm-hmm.
Again, he's got the ability and maybe be pressured by, selectmen to do things differently. But I think we have a really good chance that he gets it enough to value what we have and the way we're going about it.
Good. Okay.
And when is he supposed to start taking over, Jim?
Monday,
When
right?
Bob
A
stepped
week
down.
from yesterday, the 19th,
Oh, boy.
right in the middle of budget season.
There you go.
Lucky devil.
Well, at least he can blame somebody.
Speaking of budgets, what, union contracts up this year?
Yeah.
Yes. Yep, they're in
So we're gonna be going
negotiations
through
right
those?
now.
All right, because we like to, have somebody sit in on those too, water and sewer,
Okay,
seeing as how we fund most of it.
okay,
So even though the town writes the checks, we
Yep.
have the bank accounts.
Yep.
So,
yeah, we're in our first exchange right now.
all right, if you could forward some updates, that'd be good. Take a look at it. Second thing, MIUs, if we start going to houses, how are we doing with the vaccination of our guys? Are they getting vaccinated?
Not
Do they
yet.
want to
There's-
get vaccinated?
Yeah, I think everybody wants to. The age group hasn't quite caught up to most of the people. that
Well,
are
it
out
does
in the field
now.
right
Yeah.
They're
16.
all over
Right.
16.
It has. So the town reached out to me today to get anybody who wants to in to get the Johnson & Johnson vaccine when it's in town.
It's
Yeah, okay.
old. That's what-
Yeah, and then it looks like they're gonna put a hold on that.
Yeah.
So,
The
but that's
clinic,
the next step. But yeah, that's,
the clinic is moving forward. They're using the Pfizer vaccine.
oh, okay.
Good.
Good.
Both clinics, Thursday and Saturday. There are 2 clinics this week in
Oh,
Winchester.
excellent. Good.
Okay, good. So
Multiple
then I
towns.
will forward that information. I just got it today from, I don't remember who. Oh, from, Kathy Vale. So I will push that forward to the guys now that I know it's still, ongoing. So perfect.
Excellent. Any other new business? Will we be able to go to town hall next month? Yes?
Not likely.
Okay, meeting adjourned. No, what?
The feedback I'm getting from Bob is that until these variants, these contagious variants have been controlled or there's a higher vaccination rate, it's not likely.
Do we have to meet at the town hall, gentlemen?
What are you
Well,
talking
if it's an
about?
open meeting, it's
Will
whether
Red
it's at
Barn?
town hall or somewhere else, it's the same issues.
Yeah, probably any town building, right?
Correct.
All right, Bill, what's the address we want to go to?
What's yours? I was actually thinking either the water plant or the sewer plant to me.
Yeah.
Because I actually heard today that people, because they're doing so many Zoom meetings, they're starting to like space out as they're driving. So this is just going to create issues. I watched the planning and zoning meeting last night, and I did watch some of the selectmen meetings, and let me tell you, I felt like driving off the road after sitting here
thanks a
looking
lot.
at the computer.
Thanks a lot.
And thanks to the selectmen for listening to my rant last week, and to the planning and zoning for their and especially to Bart for the presentation to you guys, to the planning and zoning. It was actually very informative of stuff that, sorry guys, but that I didn't totally get either. So Bart did an excellent job for you guys.
I thought it went pretty well, Bill.
It did go very well. I didn't totally understand why at first, but I learned as we went along. I'm the rookie on this whole crew here, even though I have 20 years in the field. So,
Well, the selectmen initiated that. They wouldn't have allowed it to be on the 19th. So we made sure that those presentations were ready for everyone. Otherwise, it
very
would
good.
not have gotten approved.
Excellent.
Awesome.
Good.
Any other new business? Hearing none, motion for adjournment?
Make a
I'll make-
motion. Yeah, Jerry.
I'll second.
I got you, Bill.
I'll get you next time.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thanks.
Good
everyone.
luck, Bruce.